Hey everyone, it's time for final thoughts from Coach Tim Hyde of blueandgold.com. Before we get going, make sure you hit like on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Virginia week. The Fighting Irish are gearing up to travel to Charlottesville. Virginia is 6-3 on the season. Tim, they haven't played like an ACC game. It feels like forever. They played BYU 2 weeks ago, had a bye, but in that game, Brennan Armstrong gets hurt. So let's start there. Just what are your thoughts on how Notre Dame approaches a game where you don't know whether their opposing quarterback's going to play, and it's going to be critical really to the outcome?
Oh, without a doubt. He's electric. He's a stud. I mean, he is the UVA football team. He is an outstanding football player. I posted on the message board the other day before Brian Kelly had his press conference that he was a lefty Sam Howell. Yeah. And Coach Kelly comes right on the thing and starts talking about Sam Howell and Armstrong. Yeah, outstanding football player. Yeah, he got hurt. So, and a great point you just made where this is a non-conference football game. They're at Pitt next week. So Virginia versus Pitt next week is really for the division crown.
Yeah.
So they go in and beat Pitt, then they're playing for an ACC title and an automatic berth into, the Peach Bowl. So what do you do there, with the UVA coaching staff? What is that decision-making process of course, it's prime time. You want to beat Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame.
Right.
You want to do everything you can. But what is that rib? And obviously you do a little research. A lot of guys in the NFL, a lot of quarterbacks have played with fractured ribs, a cracked rib. And is it broken? If it's seriously broken, do you heal them? Do you give them another week so you get ready for your real goals? There are the ACC championship game at UVA. But Armstrong's electric. He's outstanding. And, we're going to sit back and see what happens about 7:35 on who gets that first snap there for Virginia.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Virginia controls its own destiny in the Coastal Division with that game coming up against Pitt, and then they have their big rivalry game after that against Virginia Tech. The Cavaliers are 4-1 at home this year, but I'd raise that they've only played 2 ranked teams this season. They lost to Wake Forest by 20 at home, who Wake Forest just lost to North Carolina, and by 17 to BYU on the road. So there's a lot of mystery about how good Virginia really is, with or without Brennan Armstrong. And Coach Hyde, I know you spent some time this week. You watched 3 of Virginia games. How good of a football team is this?
On offense, they're as good as anyone in the country. I mean, seriously, their offense is really good. A lot of motions, a lot of misdirections. They do a couple things that Notre Dame has struggled with really over the last couple seasons. Counters. You go back to the Florida State game last year where the quarterback counters. They're running those like crazy. The counters hurt them in the Florida State game this year, the Toledo big run, the counters. But if Armstrong's the quarterback, are they going to run quarterback counters, which he has run a lot of those? I mean, going back to Armstrong is their guy. Yeah. So how good is this Virginia team? Offensively, they're as good as anyone in the country. They are dynamic. They got weapons. They got 5 receivers with nearly 30 catches or more. They're tall guys. They got height all over the place. They don't have a great run game. Their run game is Armstrong with the quarterback runs. And defensively, they're a mess. I mean, just look at the stats. They're a mess. They're not good on defense. Teams have scored a ton on them. For as good as they are, everyone's nervous. Oh, it's Virginia. You're on the road. Those types of things. I started looking at it as, where has Notre Dame lost on the road the last couple of years? You got 2017 Miami. Well, Notre Dame hadn't played it in South Beach since the classic '89 game.
Yeah.
Notre Dame went in there number 1.
They obviously at Michigan in 19 as well.
Exactly. Michigan and Georgia, and obviously 18 and 20, they won big games. Vautech and SC in 18, and obviously last year's big class in Chapel Hill when they beat North Carolina. So Virginia is not as good as any of those teams who they've played since 17 on the road in big late season clashes. But offensively, they're very good. No doubt about that. Notre Dame should be able to go up and down the field, I feel, on their defense.
So we'll throw some national stats out there for Irish fans to understand about Virginia. Virginia is number 1 in the nation total offense. That's largely because of their pass offense, which ranks 2nd overall. Brennan Armstrong actually is the nation's leader in total yards per game. And that's because, and this is the thing about Virginia, if they don't have Armstrong, he is in terms of rushing yards gained, number one on his team by a ton, by 150 yards. Now you take away some sack yardage, his net rushing yardage is actually number two on the team. But if they don't have him, coach, it doesn't seem like they would have a running game anyway.
No, it sounds like they're going to play the freshman. It sounds like they're going to do more wildcat, possibly.
With
those
Keaton Thompson, yeah.
Exactly, which is, when's the last time you had the game plan around number 99?
Yep.
That guy is outstanding. 99, 0 at tight end. They have some guys. Their outside receiver, Wicks, is outstanding. They got some guys. So if Armstrong is banged up, if they're saving him for Pitt and the ACC title run, they're going to go with the freshman. But they're going to do more wildcat. They'll probably do more motions. They'll probably do more unbalance. A hybrid of everything. And that's what, the Virginia offense is: misdirections, lots of motions, lots of shifts to confuse you there. So just expect a ton of that. Coach Kelly mentioned that in his his last press conference, about them preparing for everything under the sun of what Virginia has done, even without Armstrong in there.
Yeah, I remember Keaton Thompson as a quarterback prospect. He attended the Rivals Camp Series. I remember filming him. He is the transfer of the best type. He got his work done at Mississippi State, got his degree, and they're now using him in interesting ways. As a quote FBP is his position listed, a football player, and he's getting the most out of his last year. So good for him. And Coach Kelly, to your point earlier, he said today during the Thursday presser, we're recording this on Thursday, that Virginia's got multiple guys. This isn't like a one player like Drake London at USC, or stop one guy, Josh Downs at North Carolina. Brennan Armstrong's been able to distribute the ball to a bunch of different targets. So that brings me to my next question, flipping the ball. Coach, is Notre Dame's not going to have Avery Davis. Now they're down to 5 scholarship wide receivers. Avery Davis out for the year with an ACL injury. So there's going to be freshmen pressed into a larger role on the road. I mean, what are your thoughts for that group heading into a primetime game?
True, but they've been playing a lot, and they're good football players. You're talking about, Styles is going to go right. Lorenzo Styles is going to go right to the slot. Coach Kelly's already said. Colsey has been making a big catch, it seems like, every single game now, and getting more and more reps. So, you know what? Avery Davis, heck of a football player, has done some great things. But, they're going to still run their offense. And I think one of the, the mix and matchings that they could do is Kyron Williams is an outstanding receiver. So they could easily put Diggs at running back and put Williams out of slot, do some motions, do some shifts. And then the most obvious one, I feel, as a coach, is you take Michael Mayer and you put him as a slot. If you want to keep a tight end in the game, you put George Takis in at tight end. And then there's still your 11 personnel type of a package with Mayer split out, which I hope they do, because I don't think there's anyone at Virginia that could cover Michael Mayer. So I'm hoping they come out and spread him out, put 3 to one side, Mayer into the boundary, and say, how are you going to play me?
Virginia's total defense ranks 122nd, in the country, 122. Pass defense is 95th. Run defense is 122. So, yeah, those are all valid questions. You can ask that about a lot of players on the Notre Dame offense. I think they're going to have guys who are better than their opposition on the field.
Exactly. And just to parlay off of that is Notre Dame still has weapons. As much as Davis has played, they still have guys.
Yeah.
Diggs is coming on. You have 3 freshmen that have really produced a lot since the Vautech game and on there. So they're obviously going to get on that field more, which gives you opportunities. Like if a receiver needs a blow, Styles could play outside. He's been playing outside. But Mayer or Williams as a slot. So they still have options, Coach Reese and Coach Kelly, there to do a heck of a lot on offense come Saturday night.
Coach Hyde, let me ask you, Notre Dame football recruiting got big news today, a commitment from Emil Wagner. He's a Rivals 250 offensive lineman out of the Dayton area, Huber Heights Wayne High School. I know you've watched some film of him over the process. What are your thoughts of him as a prospect?
He's an athlete. That's the first thing he's an athlete. He's tall. Obviously, he needs to put a lot of weight on, but he's an athlete. That's the first thing you notice is the kid could strike. He can move. He is very athletic. He's tall, lean, all those things. He's a 100% tackle product, which Notre Dame needs more of. He's not the size of Blake Fisher, but who is, out there in America that's signed lately. So really good football player. I think it stunned everybody. And for now Notre Dame to get a fourth guy in this class, and obviously they're working hard to get that number 5, Billy Schroff there out of Wisconsin. So it could be a top 5 nationally ranked offensive line class, which just keeps this momentum going, especially off of the great class they had last year.
Yeah, and another player that Ohio State wanted
Yep.
from Ohio that Notre Dame gets. It's an interesting kind of recruiting storyline developing where Ohio State's still going to get great players, don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but I think they've raised some eyebrows at Notre Dame and what Notre Dame has been able to do in state there. So lastly for you, Coach Hyde, the bowl and playoff picture. I like asking this to everyone because it's a constant debate. Like, do you think Notre Dame has a pathway into the playoff? And if so, would you want them to play in the playoffs?
Oh, I am 100% in favor of, I'll take the 4 spot any day of the week.
Yeah.
Why would you? The ultimate goal is to win a national championship. Well, you can't win a national championship playing Wake Forest or, playing somebody in the Fiesta Bowl or Wake Forest in the Peach Bowl. So you have to get into the show, which is the dance, the Final Four, the college football playoff, to have a shot. Of course, they would make it as number 4, and they're probably playing the greatest defense in the history of college football in Georgia, but take that any day of the week.
Yeah.
How can you not say 11-1, 3 out of 4 years? Once again, how many teams have made the playoffs multiple times?
Yeah.
You're only going what? Georgia, obviously Bama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson. That's it.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame could get to that 3rd and boom, hit that elite status right there. It's huge. It bodes. It's massive for the program, for recruiting, and just keep this momentum going, which they've had the last couple of years. So, is there a pathway? Sure, slim, whatnot. As long as Wisconsin, they got Purdue ranked. North Carolina has another big game. Do they slowly move up in the rankings at the bottom there? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, Notre Dame, their only losses to a team that's ranked number 5, and you got Michigan and Michigan State ahead of them. It's all going to work itself out. I'm trying not to get too nervous or upset about it, which some people do. You got college football, you let it play out. Just going back to 2012, where Notre Dame needed, Oregon and Kansas State to lose, and they both lost on the same weekend. So you never know in college football.
Yeah, blowout or not, making the playoffs is a big plus for recruiting.
Yes.
We see and hear recruits mention Notre Dame having made the playoffs much more than expressing any worry about the fact that they were on the losing side, lopsided a couple times. So, Tim, as always, any thoughts on the upcoming game, and have you formulated a score prediction?
Well, it's flipping a coin this week because who the heck's going to play quarterback, right? Are they going to play a true freshman against Notre Dame, top 10 team on the road, or is it going to be Armstrong healthy, being able to do what he does, and then be a wild shootout? But, Notre Dame has played, one thing they have played is they played 3 great receivers this year. David Bell, London, and obviously Josh Downs. None of them scored a touchdown. None of them scored. So, the thing that Virginia has is they have a multitude of guys. They're going to spread it out amongst 4 or 5 guys pretty good. But my number 1 prediction for this game is the D-line needs to be the player of the game. D-line just needs to come out here, dominate. Virginia's given up nearly 30 sacks. Armstrong's thrown 8 interceptions, so it's not like he's flawless out there. So the D-line just needs to tee off. Foskey and company just go out there and obliterate and dominate this front. So I'm looking at it, do you want to say 50? I don't know. I'm just going to be a little conservative and I'm going to go 44-28 Notre Dame.
There you go. Well, I'm going to assume Brendan Armstrong's going to play. And so for our predictions on our site coming out on Friday on blueandgold.com, I assume that. I have Notre Dame 45, Virginia 38, just because I respect the hell out of Brendan Armstrong. And I think that with him healthy, they can score on just about anyone. I think he's that good. If he doesn't play, I think it's potentially a lopsided victory for Notre Dame. So we spoke about the bowl predictions earlier. Make sure you check out Patrick Engel's article on blueandgold.com. He lays out the scenarios for Notre Dame, particularly if they go 11-1 and don't make the playoff. I'll put a little spoiler in there. It would very likely be the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. So, but at any time, check out blueandgold.com. We've got a ton of great content. Hit like on this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. Tim, I'll see you Saturday night. I'm going to be in Boston because I'm going there to check out a couple Notre Dame recruits and targets, get some film and photo and such, and then I'm going to hang out with some college buddies during the game. But I'm not going to miss our live show, so I will be on. I just I may have a weird background. Just I don't know what the background's going to be, but
it's okay. It'll be out. It'll be about 11:30 at night. So get ready.
Well, it's good. I bet you it's going to be a long game. ABC is
Oh yeah.
with everyone throwing the ball around. So, but anyway, I'll see you then. Thank you to everyone for tuning in.